Harriet Green, OBE, you have quite the CV. CEO Thomas Cook Group, CEO and Chair, IBM Asia Pacific, Advisory Board Member, King's College London, among other senior positions, plus many, many awards. I was looking these up last night. Women in IT Hall of Fame, Inspiring Woman of the Year, Verve Clico Businesswoman of the Year, Leader of the Year. List goes on. Thank you so much for joining me on Decoding Calm in 15 minutes.
It's so much my pleasure, and thank you for that introduction. It was very nice.
Oh, thanks for being with me. First question, would you describe yourself as a calm person, Harriet?
I think in my early years, sort of 0 to 10, I think I was quite calm. I was a reader, loved to read. I think 10 to 20 was a pretty difficult time. Family, my dad was very sick and then died.
Wow.
And I think I've sort of come full circle. I'm much calmer now, much more in touch with my yin as well as my yang. And the bit in between, I would say a sort of edgy calmness. I'm quite intense, but I'm very thoughtful. So it depends on your definition of calm, but I think, yes, I see myself as a calm person.
Yeah. And as an outsider, one thing I'd associate you with is very high energy.
Mm.
Whenever I see you, you always seem to be boom, leaping out of bed kind of person. Let's attack the day. Let's do this, like boundless energy. Is that fair? Do you think you're very energetic?
Yes. Yeah, I think you can be, highly sort of energetic, but also from a place of calm. I mean, yoga and meditation have helped me hugely in sort of calibrating and trying to find some space in all that noise and hyperactivity. But yes, I am blessed when I wake with like this surge of what can best be described as a sort of chemical energy, a desire to do things, get stuff done. But I think you can be calm whilst doing a lot of stuff. Often people associate being calm with being somehow inert
Yeah.
or not doing much,
Yeah.
but that's not the case, I think.
Great point. And you shared a very personal detail there, which I know you shared before about losing your dad when you were young.
Mm.
So presumably that had quite a big impact on you and your life. Did that make you want to, did that fuel your ambition? Did that make you want to be a leader of people and to do big things? Do you think that was a turning point for you those years?
I I really think that when you lose a parent, and I've read and talked to many who have it as a child, and you kind of go one of two ways in broad psychological terms to deal with that trauma. Either you sort of think, wow, this can happen, and I'm going to do everything in my power to live each day because it might be my last,
Yeah.
or you sort of are more, well, hey, let's not break a leg, let's just take it as it comes because every day could be your last. And I'm certainly the former of those. And I would also say that being the eldest sibling, my mum thinking that we should take care of my father as much as we could at home meant that, there was a lot of what I can only describe as work to do.
Yeah.
How get your siblings ready for school, if there are packed lunches, the games, cooking, all of those things, the animals that we had. So I think sort of, running a budget, being in charge, not having much money or much time, there was a lot of work. And so I think I was used to taking responsibility and just getting on with things.
Okay.
And that is an underpinning of how I think about the world.
Yeah. And did it put things in perspective in terms of, losing your dad at a young age? Did that put the world in more perspective, thinking, do you know what? I can't sweat the small stuff. I don't need to sweat the small stuff. Something massive's happened to me as a kid. I've lost my dad. That's a big thing. Do you think early on that showed you that Do you know what? Some things just aren't worth worrying about. Like, if you hadn't had that experience, maybe you wouldn't have felt that way.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a great point, Steve. I think that, I've read a lot about it and tried to analyze my own feelings. But yes, no one else in our little village in the middle of the Cotswolds had big C in the family at the time.
Yeah.
No one else I knew, was having to change beds and, get off the bus and see if there was an ambulance or a doctor's car there. And so you have to focus on the things that are more important. And they often say that those that have lost a parent early are quite toughened by the experience, toughened or inexorably weakened, toughened in the sense of, you know, well, that huge thing has happened and I have survived. I mean, one of the meditation techniques that I use, one of the sort of psychotherapy, psychological exercises that I use to this day, if I'm very troubled or stressed by something, is to imagine myself as a sort of an 11-year-old girl, sort of lying down with her and telling my 11-year-old self that I did okay. You will get through this.
Nice.
It seems pretty tough now, but you will be okay if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, keep moving forward. And so I think it's less glamorous than, a huge desire to kind of race to the top. I want to be a CEO, though I did develop ambition, and more just a somewhat heavy sense of having to get stuff done and get through the day and get everyone else through the day as well.
Yeah.
And I think also having empathy for just about anyone and everything, that you never know what people are going through.
Right. Exactly. I mean, the part of the world that you're coming from today has just experienced a big earthquake, which is kind of testament to everything you just said, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to let you answer this next question. I'm going to let you interpret this next question however you like. What's
Yeah.
the highest stakes situation? So not necessarily business, but business if you want. What's the highest stakes situation you've ever been in, Harriet, and how did you get through it?
So I think I'm going to share two high stakes in the sense that I've interpreted this to mean a pretty high chance of failure.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm someone who believes 100% of the shots you don't take won't go in. And so the personal one is, I met my husband, to date, my only husband, and I at 40, after 9/11, in the December of 9/11 in New York, which was a bleak old time in Manhattan. And I married the Clarksons, him and his two children. And I sort of went from living in an apartment in the Solo building, which is a round building, 256 East 66th Street, with just, like a takeout menu drawer if I wanted to eat and kind of vodka in the fridge, to sort of, you know, um, moving in together as a family. And that was pretty high stakes. And I think some guiding principles were really important there. It turned out that, teenagers are kind of like running a business in a sense, very clear guidelines. Anyone has the right to call a meeting and walk into the top office. A lot of openness, transparency, empathy, showing my vulnerabilities. These are the things I'm not very good at.
Right.
These are things I'm gonna do my best at, and it's worked, I would say. And then the high stakes, professional is taking on Thomas Cook in 2012, when it had 17 weeks of money left to live.
Wow.
And, really being able to mobilize one of the best teams, sharing the brutal realities, really everyone understanding their part in how we solved and raised the 3 billion that we raised from the capital markets without anyone losing out and taking a hit by, an enormous sort of win-win. So both of those I consider very high stakes, very unusually for me, looking in the bathroom mirror saying, well, 100% of the shots you don't take won't go in, but what's the worst that could happen here? And
Yeah.
the worst that could happen in both cases wasn't very glorious. Let's put it like that.
No. So what do you really lean on during those periods, Harriet? Is there anything I mean, you mentioned yoga earlier, meditation. Is there anything else apart from those two things? Are those the kind of your staple? Are they non-negotiables, especially if you're doing, you mentioned how many days worth of money left? 17, did you say? 17,
17 weeks.
17 weeks. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's intense pressure, isn't it? How
Yeah.
for some people they would think, well, look, I can't do yoga, I can't do any yoga. We've got 17 weeks to go. I've got to just work, 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 work. But was there a sense at the same time, if they're going to get the best from me, and if this is really going to happen the way we want it to, I need to be my best self. And being my best self means I need to carve out time to bring a sense of calmness and clarity and have the quiet mind, have the ability to focus under the most pressure that we're going to go into. What kind of things is there? I mean, you mentioned meditation and yoga. Is there anything else that would be non-negotiable for you in those periods, or I suppose at any moment in your life?
I really believe that all leadership starts with your own well-being. It's very difficult to take care of others, very difficult to, control intense situations if you can't control yourself. So yeah, for me, never being a slave to the role, making sure I get my aerobic exercise, making sure that because I'm not a great sleeper, that I start the day with yoga and meditation and really centering yourself in that, to be the best version of yourself, you have to be feeling pretty good physically and mentally yourself.
Yeah,
And so, people do not want to be led by some stressed out neurotic who, is sort of barely coping themselves. People detect that in others. You can be vulnerable and honest and tired, a little weary around the edges, but, demonstrating each morning the energy that you have. And I think in those situations, for me, I think I've been a big proponent of this my whole career, is really communicating a lot. The
yeah,
Thomas Cook and my own, Harvard Business School case studies. I talk a lot about being able to communicate in small groups, regular one-on-ones, larger groups to 112,000 people on the IBM cloud in India when you update everyone and take their questions, get their inputs. I think in stressful situations, people do a whole lot better when we are communicating.
yeah,
And I think that you can, in my experience, you can plot successful big change by one simple fact. Does everyone in the organization know their part in the change and in the success? What do you do differently on Monday? And those big changes and those transformations and those stressful times where you're talking to the same 20 people who have to go out from that room and tell another 2,000 people, etc., what needs to be done, you never reach those that are really, really touching, influencing the customer, the supplier, the partners. So I think calm communication, really, really listening
yeah,
to what's being said to you. The words used, the way in which they're used. There's a lot of research being done at the moment around, our next gens who really are more interested in the way that something is said, not just the what, but
Mm.
how it's being communicated, and much more likely to be influenced by looking alongside, not looking up
Okay.
at some hierarchical figure. And I think you know that I've always felt good leaders should see themselves kind of at the center of a vortex of change, not, at the top
Yeah.
in the high office in the corner with the glass,
Yeah.
but really at the center where everything, is really, really happening.
Mm. Have you always been good? I'm gonna have to ask you less questions because we could go on all day otherwise. But are you good at, you talked about assembling a great team when you went into Thomas Cook. Are you good at then delegating responsibility, Harriet? Are you someone who can say, right, I've got a great team in place. I don't need to worry about this. I don't need to lie awake worrying about this because this person can take care of this person can take care of that. I've got the best team in place. They're going to do it. Or are you more the type of personality that overthinks and thinks, God, I've got a great team, but ultimately the buck does stop with me. So, oh, maybe have I missed something? Are they going to miss something?
Hmm. Yeah, I think you know, I have a kind of, I think it's taken me a while to realize why my leadership style is as it is. And of course, we can improve it and develop it. But I have a great sense of kind of the end in mind, the vision, how how we need together to get to the place we need to get to. But I'm also by nature, I think back to my childhood, quite a completer finisher. As everyone got their dinner money, as everyone got the cooking stuff, and so I'm very happy, I think, to let people get on with their work, but I always have put in place measures. And so I look at the measures, and if the measures are telling me that things aren't going so well, then I'm always keen to help as a good sort of completer finisher as well. But I don't tend to intervene if the measurements are going well. I'm just thrilled. When you're a CEO, the single most important currency that you're really trading in is time.
Yeah.
You never have enough time to do all the things that you want to do. And so if people are doing great, let them get on with it and be sure the only involvement you have is to congratulate them, to absolutely cheer them on, recognition, and so that you can focus on the things that aren't going as well. So, no, I don't think I'm a micromanager, but if something's not going well, I can dive in as a completer finisher to help.
Yeah. I dug this quote out. I was thinking a quote that may resonate with you. See if you would agree with this that is true in your life, or if you'd pick something else. This one's from Oprah Winfrey. She said, "The more you know yourself, the more clarity there is. Self-knowledge has been the most important thing in my life." Would you say that's been
Mm.
the most important thing in your life, Harriet, or would you pick something else?
I think it's a great quote by Oprah. She has a way with words, and I think demonstrates amazing vulnerability at times.
Mm.
I think that's true for me. I think the realization um, that we all need love, a lot of love, as Scylla would say, um, was a really great realization. I think that losing a parent, quite a stressful second part to my childhood, um, a difficult to love mum. I just sort of just got on with stuff. And in my early 20s, it became very clear to me that one needs love and that I should stop being quite so tough on myself. And, you know, um, we just need to love ourselves and then, we can love others. But every human being, however tough, however they've got through stuff, whether they've single handedly rode around the world, whatever it is they've done, I think love is a very underrated force and demonstrating, that love. I am lucky enough to have three grandchildren, three, 2.5, and just over one. And that has allowed me to demonstrate such enormous, unconditional love. But I think we all need it. And when I realized that I wasn't superhuman, and that I could tell other people that, it was very important to me, as well as the self-knowledge, as Oprah says.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to close with some very quick fire questions.
Right.
Are you a morning person or an evening person?
I'm not a great sleeper, so very early morning. I'm a very early morning person.
Emails or phone calls?
Both, like both.
Dogs, cats, or neither?
We had a home full of them, and I tend to focus more on people than pets.
Okay. Guilty pleasure?
Oh, a really well-made vodka martini with a swirl of lime.
I could see your eyes light up when you said that. And the last one, if you could invite anyone over for dinner, alive or dead, who would it be?
Well, this one I'm going to take a bit of a what you say when you take advantage of a situation. It's the most amazing dinner party. You may have heard me talk about this before, but it would certainly be Liz. Liz one, Elizabeth I, undoubtedly one of the great all-time leaders. Anita, the mighty Anita Roddick, was way ahead of her time. The Body Shop. Joan of Arc, so much to ask, the lovely Joan. Another Harriet Tubman. What an incredible woman. Kathy the Great. Wow. I mean, seriously. Definitely Marie Curie. I mean, intelligence beyond. Amelia Earhart. Oh, so much to share, and probably to get us all singing Whitney Houston, but a huge, amazing dinner party of great women.
Wow. Great answers. Harriet Green, OBE, thank you so much for joining me.
Great pleasure, Steve. Super to see you.
Thank you.
Take care.